Hello, and welcome to this edition of Own the Journey, where we have the opportunity to meet with incredible people from around the world. In this episode, we have the opportunity to meet with Stephanie O'Connor. Stephanie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And your role at City Utilities here in Springfield is the Senior Vice President and Chief Information and People Officer for the utility. Talk to us a little bit about that. I think it's totally intriguing, but also awesome that you get to lead IT and people, two of my favorite things.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you got there and how that has worked as a single entity coming from your chair.
Sure. So I started at the utility as an intern in IT. So IT is my background.
Okay.
And I've been there 32 years.
Wow.
And part of that time, I spent about 3 years in HR. I was a PC trainer for them. So I went from an intern to full-time, did some PC training. So I had some opportunities in HR, and over the course progressed through IT, and an executive position came open in December 2017. And it was the first time that they were going to blend IT with people. And it was something that was very near and dear to my heart. And so I've been in this position since then. The reason that I value that so much is before I joined City Utilities as an intern, I was an intern with Monsanto in St. Louis, and I worked on their help desk. Absolutely loved it. And that's where I really found my passion of helping people. Love technology, find it so fascinating. And when I found the niche, I knew I really didn't want to program per se, but that was the only track.
Right.
And when I had that experience, I was like, this is what I want to do. And so as a intern at City Utilities, I actually was one of 3 people that started doing technical support. And I was one of 2 women that were even in IT when I started. So that's kind of how it started. That's kind of how I've evolved into having both, IT, HR, and SpringNet as well. I've got that other technology piece to it.
Yeah, which is its own complicated set of moving pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love this because as an organization, we are all about culture. We're all about driving the right things and helping people to be better versions of themselves, serving the whole human. But all of what happens in today's world relies on technology. And so you have a really special opportunity to blend those two areas and then do something really cool with it. So I'm a big fan, and I love what you're doing. I think it's just fantastic.
And it's like you said, it's great because it's hard to have a technology solution without people.
Yeah.
People create and establish the technology, and then on the backside of it, people use the technology to be more productive. And so it's neat to see that partnership and bringing people and technology together. Yeah. It's a really great role. I feel very blessed.
Yeah, it's very cool. So how do you keep up with both sides? I mean, HR is moving fast and the workforce is shifting. IT obviously is shifting at a rapid pace. So how do you keep up?
You think I'm keeping up, right? No, what I really like about it, every day is different. And you have new opportunities to learn. And so keeping up a lot of times is, staying connected with, our local Springfield Tech Council. And, even we have an organization for HR called SARA. So it's the local HR association. And you also mix in with that a little bit is I'm also our board liaison. And so, so it's really just a matter of kind of, balancing. It's that a little bit of the work-life balance, but it's balancing between those and staying current is really one of those things that I find by researching or leaning into my directors. They're a great resource. I don't want to just be the one that's looking and driving. By leaning into them and having them research, learn, I think if you surround yourself by those that are smarter than you, that's a great benefit. And so I really value, a lot of it comes from just interacting with those in my area.
It's so good. And I think the whole approach of teamwork is how things get done.
Right.
So I wanted to just kind of deal with something head on that I think is pretty special.
Okay.
You're a woman leading kind of two roles or worlds that are driven highly by men. So you've got the utility plus IT, which are mostly dominated by men.
Right.
How have you navigated through some of those challenges? What's that been like for you?
So as I mentioned, when I started, I was one of two women in the entire, down the hall. And so that was a little unique. And it's been unique to be in a position where you're learning and observing and kind of following. But I was very fortunate to have role models along the way that were women and was able to kind of admire and watch and learn. And balancing that a little bit, you do recognize that it's hard sometimes to find your place because you don't look like the rest that's in the room. And so feeling like your voice matters, feeling like you can have a place at the table, at times could be challenging. I've never been in a situation at City Utilities where I wasn't respected for what I wanted to offer or bring, but it is definitely uncomfortable. And so part of that is, as I've been there 32 years and had the opportunity to progress, I had seen in our workforce that we were losing two women, actually. It is male-dominated between IT and the utility business. And so we were losing two women at one point in time. And so I wanted to do something to kind of change that. Yeah.
I love it. And from that, you've developed some special organizations, SWAG. So tell us about
SWAG, yes. So SWAG is Strong Women Achieving Goals. And I had attended a local luncheon that honors women. And I was with our former president and CEO. And as we were sitting there, the keynote speaker was talking about some of her challenges and opportunities. And our president CEO turned to me, do you experience that? Oh, have you had that? And I'm like, yeah. And I was shocked by the aha moments that he even experienced. And so on our way back, I said, I'd really like to create an organization in the utility for women, because if you're having that aha moment, there's others in the utility that are probably trying to figure out, how do you interact? What is that? It's uncomfortable on both sides.
Yeah.
And so I was supposed to kick this off in March. I wanted to kick it off on International Women's Day in March of 2020. That didn't happen because the whole world shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
And so March 8th of 2021, I kicked off SWAG. And its purpose is to energize and empower women from a personal and professional level. And with the goal of we wanted women to see that they have a place at the utility. And when you're at the utility, you have a voice at the utility. And so started with 80 women that signed up for that out of about 190 at the time. So that's pretty good. Within 3 days, we had a big, I wasn't sure. So just wanted to see where this would go, and went through our first year, and now we will kick off our fourth year in March of this year. And we are at 90 women. And where we were losing two women, we were down 2% in 2019. At the end of last year, we're up 7% with women. Wow. So I believe SWAG is having an impact. It's not the only reason. I think it's a big part of it, because we have women that have joined us that in their interview have said, I heard about this program. I wanted to be a part of something that would support women, that left other organizations, not because they were unhappy. It's just a different opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, very much. It's wonderful. And I light up. I could talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
So
well, tell us a little bit about just kind of the impact that it makes for an individual in the workplace. I mean, it's just a sounding board. Is it a coaching opportunity? I mean, what's the next detail?
So SWAG, because it's hard to move with 90 people at one time. So I created small circles. So we kind of looked at, Lean In, so by Sheryl Sandberg. Okay. Our first year, we kind of looked at what that book was about, what were some of the benefits of that, and one of the things is small circles. So I created small circles with 9 leaders, so women across the utility. One was my executive assistant, who is very quiet, all the way up to another VP in our organization, because I wanted every level to be reflected as a leader, because it doesn't matter what your title is.
Right.
You lead every day.
Right.
And so I told my assistant, I'm like, if you will do this, you are going to be a great example for others. And so we did that. And so we meet once a month, and we have the same topic across circles. However, every circle is different.
Sure.
And in the circles, the women are anywhere from, we could have a custodian to a VP. And we try to not have women that are in the same structure in those groups, so that it's a safe place. It's a safe place to just share scenarios or challenges, or how do you get through that. But we focus on topics, how do you own the room? What's the likability dilemma? So we have various topics. This month we were talking about what's your word for the year. And then we're going to play off that as we go throughout this year. So that's kind of how they work. We also have a leadership series to where once a quarter, I have a local, national industry female leader come speak. Logan Aguirre was my first speaker that I had. And then I've had recently a lady who is the president and CEO of the Southwest Power Pool, which is amazing. She's got an IT background as well. Wow. So it's exciting to see, because we want individuals to see, doesn't matter where you start.
Yeah.
You can do anything that you really want to do. And so those series, everyone in the utility is welcome to join. So we want men there. We want the connection. We want to build that. We've had a lot of men ask, can I join SWAG? I'm like, well, you can't be a swagger with us, but I'm like, actually, we want you to be a part of those series, because they've asked, I want to know more how to support my spouse, or how to support my daughter, or how to support my sister. And so it's been really, really engaging, and it's made a big difference in our culture.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm sure all the way around it breaks down walls.
Right.
And makes it easier to have conversations. I think even like to your point earlier, I think that there's times when guys are nervous or intimidated or are afraid to have certain conversations.
That's right.
And so if we can figure out how to tear those walls down, it makes it better for everybody.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah,
it's been very rewarding and exciting. And I think you asked a question, or I don't know if you posed it this way when you were talking about SWAG and the impact, but I can tell you one of the impacts is seeing it in the women that are in it and going through that. We've had women apply for a job that in the past wouldn't have applied for. We could take a lesson from our male counterparts, because you all are great at looking at something going, well, I've done a couple of those things. I'm going to go for that. I'm going to take that chance. Yeah. Women want to dot every I and cross every T before they'll apply. And so not feeling sometimes that, feeling you may have inadequacies.
Sure.
And so we've had women apply for jobs and get it, that they wouldn't have done that in the past. We've had women go back to school. We've had women recognize that they belong, have a seat at the table. You don't give up your seat if someone comes in. We've talked about you slide over and pull a chair up, so that you have a voice. And so it's very rewarding.
Yeah. Well, congratulations for all that.
Thank you. I love it.
Well, and I know from our own organization, we're better when we have everybody at the table.
Yep.
I mean, we make better decisions. We have better conversations. We think about things differently. And as a result, we grow and are more
Right.
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 So fantastic. Well, along with all those things, you've won some awards
Yes.
along the way.
Yes.
For 1-7,
Yes, sir.
SPJ, you won some awards. So how has that shaped your kind of perspective on the community and your perspective inside your workplace, and just kind of, I would even go so far as to say validating for you in the work that you're doing and how you're leading?
Those recognitions are very humbling, and
well-deserved.
It's hard sometimes to think, how am I any different than someone else? But with those recognitions, my goal is really to show that you can accomplish anything. You can be recognized for various things. And the big thing is, how do you support one another? You know, those nominations, I had individuals that nominated me. That's all about creating a circle of champions. That's one of our goals in SWAG. And so showing that you can advocate and support one another. My hope is in some of that recognition is remembering that it's an opportunity for someone else to maybe think, I didn't think I could do that, but she did that. Yeah. And so I want to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, I had great role models. My hope is that those are just recognitions that they go, I know her, she did that. Yeah. That's something that I can set my sights on, that I can think about doing. Like I said, it's very humbling, and I'm very appreciative. It's uncomfortable at times, but part of what we teach or we talk about in SWAG is be willing to accept that, you know, be willing to own your value. Yeah. And so that's a big part of it too.
So talk to me about that a little bit. I mean, I think anybody in leadership struggles at some point or another with imposter syndrome, some version of that. How have you had to navigate through those things and kind of like probably still battle it at times? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I do at times.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. How you fight it?
You know, a lot of it is based upon the goals that I put into SWAG. So when I established SWAG, there were 3 goals, and there are 3 goals. You know, one is achieving that work-life balance. So recognizing that, you know, if you're asked to do something, you're going to step in for something, you're going to lead something, you know, recognize it's okay to be proud of that professionally. It doesn't take away from anything else. But also being that unapologetic leader. It's okay to be recognized. It's okay to step into those things. And, you know, looking at I'm going to use technology in this case as a great example of it. So women tend to use technology less than men. There's about a 70 to 30% ratio. Reason being is exactly what you just mentioned, imposter syndrome. Because, so example, ChatGPT. Men are so good at, man, I'm going to, you know, just do this. But from a female perspective, sorry if I'm hitting my mic here. From a female perspective, you look at it and go, I don't want someone to think I didn't write this myself. I want someone to know I'm that capable, that I can do it. So I think sometimes we don't lean into the things that we should that can help us advance. And so that imposter syndrome does creep up at different times. And, you know, for me, it's just realizing we're all human. Yeah. We all feel it. We all have those emotions. So if I'm feeling it today, someone else has felt it at a different time. And then just trying to remember that if you are asked to step up, if you're asked to present, if you're being honored for something, it's for a reason. People believe in you. Right. People want you to succeed. And so to be comfortable that people are investing in you, and it's okay, and to feel good about that. Yeah. Be proud of it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. Well, you mentioned that you're involved in a lot of things in the community as well. So I know that you serve on a lot of boards, local chamber board. I had a chance to get to know you and other things. I mean, plus you're the wife, the mom, the grandma, and all the things. How do you manage keeping the balance?
You know, again, and I know I keep circling back to SWAG, but that's where these goals came from. It's that work-life balance. And, you know, in doing that, I love what I do. I love working at the utility. I think I have a dream job. But I look forward to time with my family. And that is really, really important. And carving it all out isn't easy. As a parent, you know, it's not easy trying to balance that. But I also look at it as that's how I reset. That's where my energy comes from, is the personal side, so that I can invest in the professional side. And so realizing that for me, that making time for all those things is rejuvenating, and it allows me to be a better person. Awesome. And so it's not always a 50-50 balance. Right. You know, sometimes it's this way, sometimes it's this way. and giving yourself grace to recognize that sometimes you don't balance it all. Sometimes the ball falls, but you just got to pick it up and go on. So it's just recognizing the importance of the family, of the personal and the professional side, and investing in both at the right times.
And it is an investment
Yeah.
on both sides. It's a lot of work. If I could, how have you and your husband worked out your language or your keys to, like, hey, push your luck a little bit, or, I need you a little more present? How have you guys worked it out in a partnership in order to navigate through that?
I would say, what's interesting, he's an IT person as well. So he's a database administrator at Associated Electric. So not only do we both come from IT, we both work in an energy field. And so you could have some challenging conversations. But I think how it really works for us is we have different personalities. And so where I'm probably the more strong do, he's a little more reserved and laid back. And so that balances a lot. And so, at times he can tell when I'm too extreme one way, and he can pick up the other half. So, I don't know. It just works. It just works. Yeah. I don't know. I wish I had a solution. I maybe could retire and just start selling whatever that is. But yeah, I think it's just a partnership, and it's, I don't know. It just varies by the day.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Well, let me switch gears on you a little bit. I think one of the challenges in IT as a whole is balancing security and operations and all innovation and all things to go with that. But in a utility, you kind of have some extra constraints in there. The regulatory environment is so hard.
Right.
How do you push innovation into your team and your organization while maintaining security?
It is tough. And like you said, going back even to the family, it's a balance. It's, so it's looking at the utility. We provide quality of life in our community, and we impact our community every day. Our customers we hope they don't think about us when they flip on the lights, because they come on. It's when they don't. So you really have to think about the innovation and the things that we're going to put in place. How is it going to impact our community? So trying to balance this is a new technology solution that's going to enhance our service. It's either going to make it a little better. It's going to give a new avenue for our employees or our customers. But what's the risk behind that? Security isn't convenient.
Right.
And so then you're balancing, man, there's this great solution, but I've got to secure this because we have physical assets in the community to secure. So, an example being that is challenging internally is when you've got physical assets to protect, one of our regulatory entities is our North American Electric Corporation, NERC, and then NERC CIPS, which is the cyber protection side of that, has regulations that said if you have this type of asset, you have to have this type of security around it. So you put a perimeter around it. Well, employees that were used to just being able to go in and out of this one door, now they can't because you're protecting that asset. And so, it's one of those, just trying to explain the why behind it, and that we recognize it's not convenient, but we hope it makes us better. And so, looking at innovative ways to do things differently, we had, to ingress and egress in the buildings. We didn't used to have to badge in and out. Well, now you do. Well, we do that from a protection. So that was a new technology we put in place, but it wasn't necessarily well received to start with, just because it's an inconvenience and it's a little different. So a lot of those is just things that you have to do from a regulatory perspective, but how can you view it and assess what is the impact on the employee, what's the impact on the community, and is it for the better good?
Yeah. So it really kind of comes down to making sure that everybody in the organization understands the true north,
Right.
which is taking care of your residents.
That's right.
And if that's the focus, I'm sure, while they may not love every aspect
Right.
of it, you get the buy-in
You do.
of the impact that you have.
We have, our employees are incredible because they work with the heart to serve the community. It is obvious. And so even though things may not be ideal for their level of comfort, if it has an ultimate value to protect our assets, our customers, provide better service, they're all in.
Yeah.
They're all in.
That's very good. Well, on the HR side, as it relates to that, the workforce has obviously changed. They're responsible for a lot of things, but part of that is diversity and inclusion.
Yep.
And you're starting to see things shift in that arena as well. So what are you seeing in terms of recruiting a workforce and getting the buy-in from the existing workforce for getting new talent into the organization that I think everybody is desperate for in
Right,
today's world?
right. And it definitely changed from COVID. And actually, it's changed even a little more recently. We're not seeing as many constraints as we once did. But from a workforce perspective and, in particular from a diversity, equity, inclusion perspective, SWAG was a big, employee resource group for us. We've also got a veterans employee resource group, and just trying to make for sure from a recruitment perspective that we have things within our environment that people see themselves being a part of. And so trying to advance those, we just hired an organizational culture director, kind of shifting a little bit from just a straight focus on DEI to really, you can have DEI, but you only get there if you have a culture that people want to be a part of.
Right.
And so I'm literally just started a couple of weeks ago. So I'm working with her, and it's really focusing on the employee engagement. What is it like? What do you enjoy? What could we do better? And that's how, if we can have employees that say, this is the place I want to be, this is what I want to be a part of, we're going to retain them, and they're going to carry the message that we can recruit more. It's really, really important to us to be an employer of choice.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you finding the strategy? I mean, 'cause I love what you're saying, because what I hear anyway is that you're not just creating connections between like employer employee.
Right.
You're creating communities within your entire organization. How does that change the culture and the way? I mean, people don't want to leave their friends. They don't want to leave their team. All those things. So is retention growing as a part of those programs?
I'm excited to see where we go this year. We have really been focused from a DEI perspective. And so you talk about being with your groups and friends. We were focused externally in the community back in 2012 from a DEI perspective. We made that switch, that transition, and in 2021 really refreshed and did an internal focus. And it was uncomfortable. There were conversations that were uncomfortable, and focusing on that inclusion and belonging. I think at times you can go from inclusion to exclusion because they don't feel comfortable, or they don't feel like they belong, or someone may feel like you're focusing too much on one area.
Yeah.
We just want to know what these numbers are, and that's not what it's about. And so I do believe we've grown from that feedback, and I think that's made us a better culture, because we're recognizing, what are we doing right? How can we do something better? Right. And so my heart really is, this culture director is going to be a key piece of that belonging, that value. It's not about what makes us different. It's about what brings us together and us bringing those unique traits into that conversation.
Yeah, and being okay with all of those conversations on both sides. Again, making it easier for everybody along the way. Yeah, I love it. So when you think about all that you have going on in your world, talk to us about what's your true north. What drives you? I mean, because you're involved in so much, you're impacting so much responsibility. It's going to be hard.
It is. And so for me, really growing up, I had a challenging childhood, from teenage years. It was a tough time. And so one of the things that I had to anchor to was perseverance and recognizing that I can either feel victim to my situation or I can persevere and be different than my situation. And so that was an anchor for me. And that's really carried me. And then when I took this position, it was different. There was different challenges that I just didn't even expect. And so I came up with a mantra. So my mantra is be true, be you, be kind. And I have a bracelet that I wear every day that says that. And that is really my anchor. That is if you can live those three things, you're doing okay.
You're doing
Yep.
things well.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I think that's incredible. Yeah. There's more people I think need to spend the time to get comfortable with the challenges. We've spoken with some others, and it's like, even though you navigate through tough challenges, sometimes that's part of the story that gives you the perseverance and the capabilities, and you need that strength.
Spot on. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. So you talked about SpringNet a little bit earlier. So that is a kind of an outside entity from the regular utility, but they do some amazing things for the community. Talk to us about the impact that they've had and how that helps to drive some innovation into our community.
Yeah. SpringNet is a team of about 38 employees, and our director of SpringNet is Jeff Bertholdi. And, he really led an effort that started back in 2019 to make Springfield a gigabit city. Wow. They had already had connection to small business, some of, Springfield Public Schools, the hospitals, so forth. But we didn't have that connection from a residential perspective. And so having, the infrastructure that we had around the city and being able to expand upon that, going through the fiber expansion project over the last few years and having that completed, now residents have the opportunity to have internet at home if they so choose. They can have high-speed connectivity. Brightspeed is the contact for that. They're the ones that are the service provider. But to complete that project and to do that has really positioned Springfield well. Springfield was recognized as a top place for remote work. Yes. And we believe that is because of that fiber project. Absolutely. It's got a great tie into that. So it's a great another leg of the utility, and it's a great way that we can kind of shine from an innovation perspective.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I appreciate all of the time.
Yeah.
As a part of wrapping all of these up, we love to ask people what their favorite piece of advice is that they'd like to share. So I'd love to know yours.
So mine is actually something that our general manager several years ago would always say, and it's something because I was an intern when he was our general manager, and it's always resonated with me, and I think it can resonate for anyone, similar to my be true, be kind, is do the right things in the right way for the right reasons. And that, I even have it in my office. I think that's, if you can do that, I think that's one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard and to live by.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
We'll raise a glass to you.
All right.
And say congratulations for owning your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.